They want your style. And at the time, I was an actor who dabbled in makeup, and I thought, okay, if we can do whatever it was, 100-something zombies in 13 days in a barn in Thousand Oaks for a feature film, if I can actually pull off this feature film, then I can maybe start to call myself a makeup artist. And we did. So that was the big transition for me. It was the make it or break it moment. Like, put up or shut up. Can you make zombies for high definition for a feature film? Are you a real makeup artist? Can you solve the problems that come with everyday makeup?
Well, I love the San Gabriel Valley.
Welcome to the My SGV podcast.
So I grew up here and I still live in Alhambra.
I was raised in between Temple City and Alhambra.
Eventually resided in South San Gabriel.
Our mission is to capture and share the stories of the people of the San Gabriel Valley.
Monterey Park has pretty much been my whole life.
Well, I'm proud to say that I was born and raised in the San Gabriel Valley.
We believe our diversity is what makes the SGV great. And no matter where you are from in the San Gabriel Valley, you will feel welcome. All right, SGVers, welcome back to another episode of the My SGV podcast. Thank you for tuning in and spending this time with us. If you're new here, we bring you the stories of the people of the San Gabriel Valley. And if you are a returning listener, thank you so much for spending this time with us. We do appreciate it. Well, again, third week in a row, right? That Scott's not here. Yeah, third week in a row. So unfortunately, you stuck with me, but we'll get through this. Victoria, I think I already know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask anyway. Are you a fan of, or have you been to these sort of like haunted, I guess they're haunted house events where like Knott's Scary Farm or Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights?
No, I haven't been to any of those. Not even Disney. But
Oh, Disney has it?
well, they have their Halloween night where the villains come out.
Oh, I was going to say, like, do they put scary characters out there?
Yeah, I think it's just like the villains, and it's also for kids, so it's not meant to scare anybody too much.
Right. But you have no interest in that kind of stuff?
Not really. Yeah.
And what about like, have you watched any zombie movies or what's that zombie series that came out? It was like really popular. You're not the person to ask. But have you seen any zombie movies?
No. I've seen the one with Jesse. I forget his last name.
Jesse?
He played Mark Zuckerberg in the Facebook movie, the actor. So
okay.
He had like a comedy zombie movie
Oh,
series.
yes. Okay. Oh, you saw that?
Yeah, I've seen that one.
So it was Zombieland, yeah? Mm-hmm. So was Woody Harrelson in that?
Yeah.
Okay, so the reason I'm asking is because like, I guess in recent years, maybe more than that, they look so real, right? The zombies, right, in the movies and whatnot. And I used to like that kind of stuff. I no longer seek it out, and I don't seek that out for my kids, but I used to seek it out like at Knott's Scary Farm and at Universal. And Universal was incredible. Like if you want to go to something in Southern California, go to Universal because it's like just over the top professional, like scare the crap out of you. Mm-hmm. And I would be really scared. I'm like excited to go, and then once I go, and then there's like a dark corner there, I'm like, oh, why am I here? Why am I here? Here, go in front of me. I don't want to do that. But yeah, I would really scare myself. But like I said, like the level of professionalism in terms of like the set design and the makeup at Universal is just like top notch, right? And when I see these movies and whatnot, it's so far from what they used to be, like in terms of like what they can make a person look like. Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking about like monsters. I'm like, I guess a zombie is sort of like a human that's like, decaying or something, right? Yeah. So they have to sort of still look human, but so the skill at creating these effects is just really gone off, like in terms of where they used to be. But anyway, before we get into our guests, I want to thank Paris Baguette for providing the delicious treats for our guests every week. Go check them out in the city of San Gabriel on Las Tunas. Say hi to Jason for us. Well, let's get to today's show. I wonder what the listeners are thinking, like, what the heck is, what's our guest about? So let's get into it. Today's guest is a jack of all trades when it comes to the entertainment industry. You've seen his work in some of the most intense, visually stunning productions in Hollywood, from American Horror Story to Westworld, Euphoria, and even the explosive world of Hellboy the Crooked Man. He's the kind of artist who can do it all, whether he's crafting jaw-dropping prosthetics, performing stunts, voicing characters, or puppeteering on set. He's even made his mark in special effects makeup with his product line Mouth FX, now the gold standard for mouth makeup in the industry. He got his start at Southern California theme parks, performing at Universal Studios' WaterWorld Stunt Show for 10 years, and finding his love for prosthetic makeup as an actor at Six Flags Magic Mountain's Fright Fest, with credits ranging across hit shows like The Rookie, The Orville, and Station 19. I'm excited to introduce to you Dan Gilbert. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Russell. It's great to be here.
Yeah. So we're talking all the stuff that you know, right? Like those. Do you personally enjoy going to those kinds of things?
I've been working in theme parks since I was 16 years old, and I'm less excited about going to theme parks, but I absolutely love working in theme parks, especially when it comes to the Halloween season. I've been fortunate to work for Universal Studios that you mentioned, for Horror Nights. I had my own show there one year. Six Flags Magic Mountain for many years. And also I build some things for the Disneyland Halloween event, Oogie Boogie Bash, as well. Can't talk too much about it, but they're pretty tight over there. But yes, I love being a part of it. I like making it. I like being in the makeup or doing the makeup.
And what do you like about it? Seeing the reaction that you get, or seeing what you've created? What is it that you like?
Well, ever since I was a little kid, I was a Halloween kid. And I always used to love pranking people and scaring people. I was that kid that would wait for my sister or my dad or whoever to come out of the bathroom and do a jump scare. I stopped doing that once when my dad had the instant reaction of like the back elbow. And I was like, and he goes, well, I mean, sorry, but that's what you get. I was like, maybe I shouldn't do that anymore. But I at 16 years old, I worked at Six Flags Magic Mountain, the entertainment department, as a bodysuit character. I was playing characters like Bugs Bunny. And the coolest thing about Six Flags to me was always their Halloween event, Fright Fest. And you can't do it till you're 18. So I watched them at 16 years old as I'm pushing like, a character barrel with like foghorn leghorn in it. And then all the monsters are coming out. And I'm like, one day that will be me. And it was. As soon as I turned 18, I auditioned, and I was a walk-around character in heavy prosthetic makeup. And at the time, we were the only theme park, really, that had that level of makeup on that scale. Knott's had some prosthetics, but only in certain areas and a lot of masks. Six Flags kind of revolutionized things with prosthetic makeups. And now Universal Studios, Six Flags, Knott's, Disneyland even, they all have characters in prosthetic makeups, and it really is bringing that childhood love I had for Halloween on a professional level to other people. I've also said that, if you can make somebody laugh, they may love you, but if you can scare somebody, they're never going to forget you. I guess that's partially why I don't really like horror films that much. Maybe I did when I was a little kid, but I like being able to make someone feel something, whether that's on camera or in person. I like to, if they want to be scared or disturbed, I like to be the one that helps provide that for them.
Oh, man. So, we have a listening audience, right? So they can't see you. How tall are you, Dan?
Probably about 6'1.5".
And you said how much do you weigh?
About 265 pounds.
And mostly muscle. So imagine this guy coming out in whatever costume you got on. It's going to be quite intimidating.
Yeah. And my voice wouldn't be this nice.
So let's go back to the beginning. First, what's your connection to the San Gabriel Valley?
So since I was a little kid, I had a connection to the San Gabriel Valley. My parents divorced when I was little, like 4 years old. And my dad's first apartment was in Pasadena. And so, I would visit him on the weekends, and it was just a special place. I was really into like ice hockey and ice skating when I was a kid. And that's where I learned to ice skate, at the Pasadena ice rink, that's no longer there. I just have memory of my dad sculpting, behind his little bungalow, sculpting out of wood and making art. And Pasadena always felt like a magical place, whether it was watching my dad do that or, you know, when you're doing the every other weekend thing, your dad's always kind of taking you on fun stuff. So I remember like going to the mall and getting like the coolest Robotech toy ever from Japan. Like, whoa, what is this? Or, you know, being at the park, and I could almost swear to this day my dad pushed me so far in the swing that I went over the bar. Of course that didn't happen. I went up and stalled out, but I had my eyes closed and I thought for sure my dad pushed me over the bar. And it was like, this is the only park in the world you can go over the bar. So Pasadena's always had a special place for me. But when I turned 18 and started working at Fright Fest at Six Flags, the department head for makeup lived in Pasadena, ironically, in the house that I live in now.
Really?
Yeah. So I've been going to Pasadena to create art and collaborate on art since I was 18 years old. And so it's always been an extra special place for me.
I see. And you said you sort of always loved Halloween stuff. Like when did that start?
Young. I mean, I was a fearful kid. Like horror films used to scare me. I remember I saw The Omen when I was very little. It was very traumatic.
How did that happen?
I was a latchkey kid. You know, divorced parents, both parents work all the time. I had like the R-rated ability at the video rental store for kids out there. We used to have these stores where you would go rent movies. And I'm not quite sure how I was able to watch The Omen as young as I did. Maybe it was on TV, but it scared me on a level that nothing else. I mean, The Exorcist scared me. Even the Elephant Man movie scared me because I didn't understand it as a little kid. And that's the power of makeup right there. That was just a makeup. That's an actor in makeup. So I'm not quite sure how I got away with watching so many horror films. I had watched all the Halloween movies by the time I was in like 4th grade. You know, I wasn't as into Friday the 13th, but like Nightmare on Elm Street. Halloween was my go-to movie. And of course, that has a special connection to the San Gabriel Valley because so much of it was filmed in South Pasadena.
Yeah. And I learned in college that it was the first movie that gave you the first person perspective of the creature.
The killer in the mask.
Yeah, it was the first movie to do that.
And the sound. His breathing, that hollow sound of his breathing in the mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, as you're like, it scared me, but like, you still watched it and you sought out more.
It was powerful.
So what was it about the being scared that you?
You know, slasher movies didn't scare me so much. I thought that Nightmare on Elm Street was more funny. I thought that Halloween was really good because it. You know, it's like, I don't know if it was shot on Ektachrome, but it feels like it was shot on 16 millimeter reversal film. It feels like a documentary. It felt too real. I don't know, but something about that always interested me. There's power in fear. And the way that you can take control of being afraid is to start being the one who does the scare. You know, whenever people are afraid of a certain kind of monster, usually it's clowns. It's like, well, all right, do you want to watch someone be made up as a clown or have their makeup removed as a clown so you can see the process? Sometimes being part of the process means you're in on the joke and you're not the victim. So I think maybe it was a way to not be fearful, to just own it, to just be like, wow, this makes me feel something. I need to watch this.
You said you were a fearful child. Do you attribute that just to the movies?
I wasn't like an overly fearful child, but I mean, I was definitely not. I was a wild kid. You know, I was a wild kid, but I was terrified of certain movies. That scared me. Ghosts scared me. The idea of the bad guy outside the bedroom window, that scares everyone. You know, when you're little, like, who's outside my window? I had a great big window in my childhood bedroom, and I was always like, one day I'm going to look out that window and some killer is going to be looking at me, you know? So, yeah.
So I'm still trying to picture you, Dan, 6 foot, you know, in a bunny suit at Six Flags. But so you got your start at Fright Fest, and what was that like?
Fright Fest was, and it still is. I mean, it's got a different vibe now. It's bigger. You know, they call it Fright Fest Extreme. It's one of the biggest haunts in anywhere. I think they have 11 mazes, 9 scare zones, and 3 shows, which is pretty crazy.
What's a show at a Fright? I don't even know what that.
So most of these theme parks will have at least one or two shows. Knott's is famous for the hanging, which originally back in the 70s, they used to hang a witch in the town square. And it was very disturbing. And then it became a parody show over the years. Okay, we're not hanging a witch necessarily. We're going to hang, whoever's in the news. Whoever's popular or unpopular, that's who we're going to hang. And, I used to write and direct theme park shows for Six Flags and star in them. I was a professional evil clown for 15 years, and we were the hosts of the Halloween shows there. And we did 3 shows a night. It was a little different than every other theme park. We had an opening ceremony, a halftime show, and a closing ceremony. Because we didn't do it in a theater, we did it outside on an outdoor stage with like lighting truss in front of the Gotham City arches. We'd see a lot of the same people. And I hated the idea of pretending like this is happening for the first time all over again in front of the same crowd that then we are going to have to go out and scare. So I kept trying to keep it fresh. And that opening ceremony is now something that I think has been adopted by most of the big theme park haunts across the country. Universal Studios does it, Knott's does it, Six Flags still does it. Opening ceremony, rope drop kind of situation. That moment where you go, okay, this is no longer a happy, friendly theme park. This is a haunted attraction. They usually now, most theme parks will have a dancing show or a magician or a hypnotist or... they'll have parody shows. So yeah, theme parks are, when they're doing Halloween, they have to go really big. They just can't do a couple mazes. They have to like fill up their park, especially if they charge a separate admission. So they give you all kinds of options.
And were you involved in the mazes, like designing those, being inside there? Like, were you scaring people?
I actually never worked in a maze except for on days. I was a walk around character in the Gotham City area. And the walkarounds were out in front and out of the mazes in the streets, terrorizing people as they're walking.
And you're just loving this.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, you can tell by my face. We were only put in mazes because we were kind of the icons for the park. We were only put in mazes when the weather was bad. If it was raining or something like that, and we couldn't do a show or we couldn't do walk around scares, they'd put us in a maze, and that could be fun. But no, I never designed them. I've done makeup for haunts, but I've never actually been a maze performer. That takes a different type of tenacity, to hit the same kind of scare point over and over and over, or make, maybe get multiple scares out of one actor in a maze. I have so much respect for all haunts, home haunts to the professional theme park haunts. There's a special kind of person, that comes out of the shadows in September and starts to, dust off their trunk full of goodies and scares and unleash it on everybody. It's kind of what made me fall in love with makeup in the first place, to be honest.
So talk to us about, like, what are you looking for someone who doesn't notice you? Like, what is your whole plan when you're there, like, lurking in the shadows and you're trying to scare someone? Like, what's that like?
There's different types of scares, right? There's a startle scare, which is an easy one. A startle scare is usually misdirection. In a maze, they'll get your attention somewhere else, and then they'll hit you from the back or the side. Universal, I have a lot of respect for, but they tend to be a little bit more canned than I like. You walk in the room, you step on a pressure plate, the pressure plate triggers the light and the sound effect, and the monster comes out, and you might get a squirt of water. And if you're in what they call a conga line, where you're like practically, doing the conga through a maze with people, you see the guy in front of you, go, oh, he's going to step on that plate. Here comes the scare. I like the mom and pop haunts where people are like, oh, okay, you think I'm coming from here? Well, I'm actually hanging from the ceiling, or whatever. I like the creative scares. But that's like a jump startle scare. I think what I was more known for was more of a, it's a little more intense than that. When someone sees you coming and you're not going and getting that, it's that psychological scare, that character scare. If you can get them to suspend their disbelief that that's not a guy in clown makeup or devil makeup or whatever, zombie makeup, I'm actually terrified for a minute because of his performance or their performance, their voice. Everything is like it's like you're in on in a scene in a horror film that you didn't ask to be in, but somebody volunteered you, and that person is standing right in front of you. That's the real deep down scare. You know, we used to take pride in all kinds of horrible stuff. Like, okay, how many people crapped their pants? How many people threw up? You know, I even had a manager who is a very successful dentist now, who used to be like, we had 4 ambulances tonight. We had 2 code browns and a code yellow. And, you know, it was like people take pride in how deep they get the scare. That you want to take it right to the line. That line has changed over the years, especially the type of character that I did that talks and was kind of an insult comic character. That line has changed, but you know, you want to take it right to whatever line it is. You know, you don't want to ruin someone's day. You don't want to actually make them unhappy. But for a minute, you want them to forget that they paid money to be in a theme park, and in that moment, they're like, am I okay? You know, that's a pretty cool scare for me. Maybe that sounds sadistic, but
I mean, but these people are seeking it out. It's not like you're doing it to people unwillingly.
No, I mean, there were definitely, we used to do a lot of promotions for the parks. You know, you go to Power 106. It's 5 a.m. They're not expecting some giant clowns to get in the elevator with them to go up to the 18th floor or whatever to do the radio program. So when you're in there and you're kind of like, hey, I'm going to just, we're in character. I'm just going to press all the buttons. And I'm just going to just stare at this person the whole way up the elevator. You say, oh, they're going to the 40th floor. And just be like, and they're like, so maybe it's a little involuntary in that situation, but this is also Los Angeles, and you would be amazed what characters can walk down the street or be in a car next to you, and the people of LA will be like, I don't care. Like, whatever. It's a giant devil. Whatever. Like, they don't, it's like not cool to be impressed. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm ranting.
So you spend a lot of time at Six Flags, and like, when did you evolve from like participating in these things to like getting more involved in the makeup process?
Well, okay, so I was part of a 2-person evil clown duo, and my business partner, the other clown, he had done makeup. He had worked for Scott Ramp, the owner of the Scream team, who was the department head for the makeup at Fright Fest, and a long-time Pasadena resident. He had worked for him and learned a lot more of the makeup techniques than I knew kind of at the time, especially on the building side, like how to build makeups. And I was dabbling with makeup on my own. I went to College of the Canyons in Santa Clarita for every radio, television, film class you could have. And then I worked in the radio, television, film equipment cage. So I was making dark films. I was dabbling with makeup and stuff, but he got a feature film. He had some friends that got together, very low budget feature film. And it was a success. You know, they had like the DVD at Walmart and stuff like that, played on some cable channels late at night. When the same filmmakers wanted to make a bigger film, and it was a zombie film, and my friend, business partner at the time, said, hey, do you want to do the zombie film with me? I was like, yeah, I mean, I guess. I'm not really a makeup artist, but he's like, good, because I pitched them on one of your makeups. Like, they want your zombies, because I did zombies a little different than other people. I made them wetter, more purple, less mummified, less dried out, less brown, less yellow, less green, more lividity, and which is the pooling of blood under the skin, more bruising. And he's like, well, good, because they want your style. And at the time, I was an actor who dabbled in makeup, and I thought, okay, if we can do whatever it was, 100-something zombies in 13 days in a barn in Thousand Oaks for a feature film, if I can actually pull off this feature film, then I can maybe start to call myself a makeup artist. And we did. It's called April Apocalypse, if you want to watch it. I think it's still available on iTunes and things like that. A little bitty film, like $250,000, but it's actually got some pretty big names in it, especially now. Some of the younger actors became big names later. So that was the big transition for me. It was the make it or break it moment. Like, put up or shut up. Can you make zombies for high definition for a feature film? Are you a real makeup artist? Can you solve the problems that come with everyday makeup. And it just kind of kept going from there. To be honest, I should backtrack because I was always in makeup. I was known as somebody who's good in makeup, a professional creature, if you will. And I did a lot of demonstration makeups at trade shows. You know, the International Makeup Artist Trade Show, Monsterpalooza, big trade shows in makeup. And then after a while, I started doing makeup on myself at these trade shows. One of the company I normally did demos for is called Premier Products Incorporated, PPI. And they're probably the biggest and coolest special effects makeup company. And when they found out I was interested in makeup, and I demoed as a model for them so many times, they were like, oh, and they gave me ridiculous amount of high-end makeup to play with. And I did. I went home and I played with it. And I showed it to them, and they said, wow, you did that on yourself? I said, yeah. I said, well, there's this new trade show coming out called Monsterpalooza. Could you do that on yourself in front of people? I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm not a makeup artist really. I'm an actor. He's like, no, it's perfect because this is more about home haunters and cosplay people and fans. It's not a professional makeup show. So I did a zombie makeup on myself with just one makeup palette, a toothbrush, a paintbrush, and a sponge to show them, you know, regular people, they don't need to be scared of this high-end makeup. And from there, I did more and more and more demos on myself, which is very difficult to do. But I always knew my actor would be decent. I knew he would show up. I knew, you know, and it was kind of something, a gimmick in a way. You know, that's a throwback to the old era of the black and white monster movies where there were actually some people that came from theater doing makeup on themselves. So that happened. Then April Apocalypse happened. So, you know, it was kind of like I had been doing makeup, but mostly on myself. And other people were like, can you do this on other people? I'm like, yeah, this is easier than doing it on yourself. For those listening, I'm sorry. It's easier to put makeup on somebody else than to put it on yourself.
Yeah. And also for those listening, you have like a full-on beard and mustache. So do you work around that? Like, do you incorporate that into the makeup?
You know, these days, if I'm on camera, it's usually like this, or some semblance of this. You know, I do stunt work and some acting, and I'll play like a biker or like a tough guy. So this is kind of, this was also to say, hey, like, focus on doing makeup, you know? I'll shave for work, by the way. So if anybody has work, I'll shave. It's just this tends to book me more work now.
Are you always like biker gang member number one?
Yeah, or militia guy, or, you know, I don't work that more, or like post-apocalyptic war boy kind of stuff, or, you know, recently I did an episode that hasn't aired. I guess it airs in January of the Rookie. It's a cop show based in LA, and I was, you know, like a very bad guy. You know, like a I don't know, drug gang type enforcer type guy. So yeah, it's usually something like that. You know, skinhead or biker inmate or serial killer or all the bad things, you know. I don't play the guy next door.
Well, I'm curious, when you were working like at Six Flags, it sounds like it's a seasonal job. So did you have like a regular job during the same time?
Yeah, I mean, well, it depends. I was there for like 13 years or something.
13 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, doing Halloween stuff. I started when I was 16 doing bodysuit character stuff. That was I had my first job when I was a little kid, you know, like under the table, maybe like 12 or something, 11 or 12, sharpening skates and cleaning bearings, cleaning out the toilet at this local hockey store in Valencia. I used to wash dogs at an animal hospital. I always had a work ethic, but, you know, Six Flags Magic Mountain came to the job fair at my high school, and I went, I don't want to work at that. I don't want to work at McDonald's. I don't want to. Oh, that guy over there, that funny happy guy in the blue shirt with the pictures of Bugs Bunny. Okay, what's that about? I go over there and go, characters, huh? Why not? Like, let's go. Like I had played around with theater in high school, and honestly, that was my first like taxable job. And I stayed there for a long time, but mostly I just did Halloween after a while. I worked at College of the Canyons. I went to school there, and I worked there for a while. I had different jobs, but I never worked in the food industry. I was usually performing or working in media somehow.
So it sounds like, you didn't really set out to be doing makeup. It just sort of was like an evolution of, things that you were into and things that sort of crossed your path.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I always loved makeup. My dad showed me a lot of movies that most kids may not have seen, like The Fly or Enemy Mine. These are
man, I remember that movie.
Rob Bottin did both of those. One of my absolute favorite makeup artists.
Can you make the sound that he makes?
In The Fly?
No. Enemy Mine.
Enemy Mine. He's like, I'm trying to, how did he do? I don't know. R.I.P. Louis Gossett Jr. Yeah, but those movies, even he showed me like Amadeus, and there's a lot of makeup in that. Dick Smith makeup. So I don't know. I think I had the advantage of seeing a lot of movies and being into stuff that maybe a lot of the kids weren't. I also grew up I think what the kids these days are missing that we might have grown up with is the make-believe world of Mr. Rogers and Sesame Street. And, I was a big fan of that kind of imagination-driven entertainment. And yeah, I don't know. I'm not quite sure how it all ended up, why I ended up being makeup, but I'm stoked on it. I just want to make, whatever it is, whether it's acting or filmmaking, or I just want to make cool things, art that I'm proud of. And I'd love for other people to like it or feel something from it too. That's what it's about. The industry's changing out from underneath us, and I'm like, I don't know where I'll be in 10 years. I'm super grateful for the journey I've been on. And as long as I'm making cool stuff that I like, then I think I'll be happy.
Well, Dan, we ask each guest to bring an item of significance with them. What did you bring with you today?
So don't be alarmed. I brought this. It's a carpenter's axe. It was my dad's old carpenter's axe. And I even have this tattooed on my arm. I have a whole kind of memorial sleeve to my father. But, when he was, I don't know, in his early 20s, he was a carpenter. He was a laborer, a day laborer in construction. And this was his carpenter's axe. And not only that, and he took amazing care of all his tools. These used to be painted red. There's really no more red on this anymore. But beyond building, and when he died, he was in charge of construction for Kaiser Permanente in California, like executive director. So he went from swinging this on a job to being the executive director of construction. But that's not how I knew this. I knew this from his sculpting. We would go camping, or he would be roughing out sculptures, in Pasadena, outside in the little parking area of his little bungalow. And he would be roughing out wooden sculptures with this carpenter's axe. And so, maybe this symbolizes him, but it also symbolizes the mixture of art and work, like creation, a tool for creation. I don't have a lot of his possessions, but this one I keep in my safe, at home, and I do have it tattooed on my arm. So yeah, when I had to think of an item of significance that has memories in the San Gabriel Valley, and it's the only thing I could really think of. This carpenter's axe was my, watching my dad sculpt, because he was a great sculptor, and wood, clay, wax, even stone was really what inspired me to be a three-dimensional artist. And he would always give me clay. He may be working with harder materials, but he would give me a stick and a pocket knife to whittle on, or, okay, we're working in clay, here's some clay, And, I remember renting movies and sitting at the kitchen table and mushing clay. And so, yeah, this means a lot to me.
Awesome. Thank you for bringing that in. Thank you for sharing that story.
And I didn't want to like walk down the street of San Gabriel, hand over the hot pot. Yeah.
Is your father still with us?
No. If you see my knuckles, you can't see it at home, but that's his birthday and that's his death date. I lost him in 2016. Oh. But he was a big supporter of my work. He was proud of it. There was always the times I would go complain about, oh man, this industry is really hard to get into or work, whatever. Well, I can get you in the electricians union. You start at $80,000. And that was like 20 years ago. Yeah, no. I mean, there's part of me that has guilt for not being in construction because I'd be third generation. But, I look at it the same way. He was making things, tangible things. And it's really cool. I can go down to Ontario, Kaiser Permanente, and go, he built that from the ground up. Like that was his project. I watched it in time lapse. And I try to do that on anniversaries, his birthday or death date anniversary. That's something I can do. I can physically visit something that he made. So, I don't plan on having kids, but it's cool to leave something behind, whether that's a film or a memory.
Mm. It sounds like your dad was pretty influential in your life. Is there someone else who has made a big impact in your life, and how did that relationship evolve?
I mean, I'm a huge family person. My sister and my mother were both artists as well. My sister was a dancer, professional dancer. She danced since she's older than me, a few years. And I grew up watching her perform. It gave me some culture that a lot of people don't have, like, being a little kid and know who Bob Fosse is, a boy, it's pretty rare. My mom was a painter. So I really think family's been hugely influential. And then mentors in makeup, all the people I look up to. But yeah, there's a lot of people I look up to in makeup, but the ones that there's people around me that I really love. My blood family, my extended family. I think those people by far have had the most influence on me.
Nice. Well, Dan, I want to get more into your story, but let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Sometimes even the best of us can slip up. That's why the law offices of Scott Wormuth are here to pick you back up again.
And while they strive to get you the biggest compensation possible, oh my gosh,
their main concern is your health and recovery. They work closely with doctors and insurance companies to make sure you get the proper medical treatment.
Initial consultations are free, so give them a call.
At the law offices of Scott Wormuth, we're with you all the way.
I'm Scott Wormuth. We've been fighting for your rights for more than 40 years.
All right, we're back with Dan. Dan, before the break, you were sharing about the impact of your family and the loved ones in your career. When we come back from break, we like to ask questions from this deck of cards called Icebreakers. And they're just another way for the audience to get to know us a little bit better. I'm going to answer and Victoria's going to answer as well. So here we go. What's your best scar story?
Does it have to be a scar? Considering I did a stunt show for 10 years, and before that I was an aggressive inline skater, rollerblader, doing handrails and half pipes and stuff like that, I got pretty lucky. I split my elbow open, got stitches, and there's a scar there. I'm not as scarred up as I probably should be, to be honest. I lucked out. Like, as many times as I hit the ground or hit the mat ugly, I've had a few injuries before. I mean, I separated my shoulder in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That was probably the most memorable injury, and it had a life change for me because I couldn't train jiu-jitsu, and then I started volunteering with a pit bull rescue, and that kind of changed my life. So maybe if we call it that, the separated shoulder. It's the same shoulder my dad separated and lost his college football scholarship to.
Oh, wow.
Weird.
Yeah.
Strange.
Victoria?
It's faded now, but I used to have a long burn scar on my leg from when I fell over on an alpine slide. In the summer it's hot and the slide is metal, so I got a nice burn scar out of that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much the only scar story I remember. Okay.
Well, I have a couple. So I'll let you choose which one you want to hear, okay? The one on my elbow from basketball, where a guy lost I think 2 teeth. The one on my knee, where my ex put me in the hospital, or the one on my right leg where I got hit by a jet ski.
Oof. See, I've almost been hit by a lot of jet skis, but I want to hear about the one where your ex put you in the hospital.
Okay. So I was in a really bad relationship, and this was actually my birthday. And she had a problem drinking, and I would never know if one drink or many were going to try to change her. And so, she had taken me to eat sushi for my birthday, and she was drinking. So I was like a little bit worried about that. And so she sort of, started getting a little bit ugly. Right. So we're driving home, and, she's drunk. Like, she's like falling asleep drunk. I'm like, great. Like, we'll just go home and go to sleep. And I remember, she was upset because I had said, I wish, like something about my brother, like wishing that my brother had called me that day. And that's what set her off. Right. And I'm thinking we're just going to go to sleep. And she's like really upset about that. It's like, I think close to midnight in February, and it's raining outside. And so, we're arguing, and she gets up and she's like, I'm going to go. And so I'm like, where are you going to go? It's raining outside. It's midnight. You're drunk. Please just stay here. And I was standing maybe 5-6 feet in front of her, and she picked up this unfinished mirror. It was a centerpiece from a wedding. You put flowers on it, right? So it was unfinished, round mirror. And she picked it up, and I was like, what are you going to do with that? And she like threw it and just like sliced my leg open.
Wow.
There was like blood, yeah.
That's traumatic.
I could see my tendons as I would bend my knee. I could see them in there. Yeah.
You're like, oh, that's what my ACL looks like.
Yeah. I needed 13 external and 8 internal stitches.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry that happened to you.
Oh. I changed my life.
That moment?
Yeah.
Did you learn from that moment?
No,
or did you
actually
put up
took
with
me
it for a while?
Yeah, it took me some time. Even from that, you would think like that would be the last straw, but like it took me some time after that.
Yeah. I wish I didn't have, some kindred spirits with you as someone who had trouble with drinking in the past and could turn violent, but nothing where I ended up with stitches, thankfully.
So anyway, if you're listening or watching online, what's your best scar story? Let us know in the comments. And maybe I'll share the other ones another time.
Yeah, I got to tune in for those.
So back to you, your story, Dan. Like I'm sort of seeing your path, right? As you're sharing it, your enjoyment of scaring people, and also for makeup, and then you get this big break, right? From not only the film, from your feature film, but this company, and then when do you decide? Okay, this is what I'm just going to go all in on it, or is it still like just sort of a side thing?
I still don't know that I'm still sort of taking jobs where I can get them. So makeup has become the majority of what I do, but there's still some acting jobs. Thankfully, I love the diversity. I love being in front of the camera, like I love being behind the camera, maybe even a little bit more sometimes. But just the nature of this business, everyone's kind of in survival mode all the time. And one way I've done that is by being diverse. It wasn't until the lockdowns in 2020 where I went, oh, my diversity is all in the same area, and it is all shut down. Everything I do, you can't do right now. Theme parks were closed. I had been doing the WaterWorld Stunt Show up until 2020. I was basically there 4 days a week. So yeah, it's tough because I have hurdles in this industry. I'm not in the makeup industry. I'm not in the makeup union, the local 706 union. I'd love to be, but the nature of my work tends to be sort of outside the scope of what they take in order to get into the union. Sadly, they really want makeup. They don't really like it if it says special effects or creature or special of any kind. They want it to be makeup. As long as your credits say makeup and your paycheck says makeup, your days can count towards the union. But the problem that I have is they tend not to count mine because few of them say makeup. They'll say, creature makeup effects supervisor. or a prosthetic makeup supervisor or special effects makeup or prosthetic makeup, and they'll just be like, no. The East Coast isn't that way as much as the West Coast apparently, but it's been a struggle. So, I have lots of people all the time that are, can't wait to hire you, or we got to get you in this union, but it's always been a hurdle. So I found other ways to survive, whether that's building things at theme parks, which tends to be, a lot of my income these days, doing live events, doing YouTuber, influencer, prank videos. I've done some of those that have gone extremely viral.
Oh yes, I remember you did the grandpa at Venice Beach, right?
Oh, the old man strength video.
Yeah,
that one was probably the biggest viral success. Yeah, that's where we took Kenneth Leverage. He was like at the time he was like a 27-year-old like CrossFit champion, and we put him in an old age makeup, and we had a hidden camera prank at Muscle Beach. And I didn't think it was going to work. It was like 100 degrees, so I said, okay, I can't use the really nice, subtle, hyper-realistic silicone prosthetic makeups, which you would normally use for old age makeup. I had to use the older technology, the foam latex, because I knew I wouldn't be able to touch him up for maybe an hour or two at a time. Do his makeup, he's going to go do who knows what and sweat. And he ended up doing flips and all kinds of crazy stuff in this makeup. And I was like, I don't know. You never know if these things are going to work. And it did work. It went hugely viral. I don't know. They've got hundreds of millions on their YouTube, and on their Facebook was where they originally posted it. There's more. I think there's people who have reposted it and gotten over 50 million views. I was doing a feature film in China, and some of the makeup assistants, I would ask them, have you seen Frankenstein? Have you seen Beetlejuice? Have you seen Dracula? Have you seen? No. And then pull up their phone, pull up WeChat, and go like, is this you? Is this you? And it was from that prank video. I'm like, so you haven't seen Beetlejuice, but you saw the old man strength video we did for Thrillist and Smith Forge Hard Cider in Venice Beach one day. And it won a ton of awards. I really liked it because it was good natured. No one was really the butt of that joke. Yeah. It was just like fun. That's my favorite. I do a ton of pranks, and I do a lot of old age pranks, and they're fun. They're really hard to do. I could turn you into a zombie right now. Maybe not even, a zombie's not a good example. An alien. I turn you into an alien. Everybody goes, oh, cool alien. But if I turn you into 100-year-old Russell, people might be like, his eyes look too young, or yeah, but wait, what about this? And you have something to compare it to. Fantasy characters, gore, all that kind of stuff is real easy compared to hyper-realism. And when somebody's like looking at it with their naked eye right up close and they have to talk, you're like, I don't know if this is going to work. And they do tend to kind of work sometimes because people aren't expecting it. They're not expecting somebody to be in that much makeup. They might be like, something's different about him, but yeah.
What was one of your most favorite projects to work on?
I'm weird. I'm a weird guy. I don't do favorites well. I'd say whatever the last one was usually, but it's a tiny film compared to the originals, but Hellboy the Crooked Man was a big deal for me. Hellboy is one of the only comic book characters I really like. I wasn't like a big comic book guy. I used to read Lobo, which is an extremely violent comic. They still haven't made that movie. I bet they will, put Jason Momoa or somebody in it. But having, the makeup designer Christian Mallet from the UK trust me to supervise a new Hellboy makeup, and it was almost Mission Impossible. He had 3 weeks to build it. It was a tiny budget. I think they've talked about rumors of a $20 million budget. I think that's at least double what it was, if not more. But that was really special. It's a challenge, but just the weight, just being able to be like, wow, this is the first character that I've really applied that has, historical significance for a lot of the audience. That one, maybe a big one for me too, was I got to turn Christopher Lloyd into Doc Brown in Milan and tour in Italy during Fashion Week for Fiat. And
you have to turn Christopher Lloyd into Doc Brown?
Yeah, I mean, he wears a wig and there's makeup, and ironically, Chris is much older. You know, he's wearing old age makeup as Doc Brown.
Oh,
but he's much older
right.
than he was as Doc Brown. Like even in the makeup now, so you almost want to do reverse age because he almost looks too old.
I see. Yeah, I saw him in an episode of Fringe.
Yeah,
and he looked much older and sort of frail, a little bit more frail.
He's probably about 83 or 84 now. Probably he is hilarious. So kind, so humble, no ego at all. You know, he could be a little intimidating, I'm sure, for people. And for me, I was like, oh, wow. Because for me, it isn't about Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt. It's about Christopher Lloyd. It's about Gary Oldman. It's about Michael Keaton. It's about the character actors. You know, those are the people that really, you know, probably as starstruck as I've ever been was I saw Warwick Davis in London at a makeup show as Professor Flitwick from Harry Potter. And I love Harry Potter, but I was like, Warwick Davis, that's Willow. You know, that he's everybody. You know, that was really special. And that was a moment where I said, okay, you need to step back from the theme park stuff. You know, like you're in Milan, you're in a 5-star plus hotel because Chris is at the hotel. You get to stay where he stays. You know, going, wow, maybe there's something to this. I should really do that. So maybe that's probably that was a life changer.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that story with us. Well, we're going to move on to the final segment of the show, Dan, where we get to learn what you like in the San Gabriel Valley. Dan, this is what we call the SGV3, and we get to find out your favorite or most memorable places or experiences in the San Gabriel Valley. So what would be number one? In no particular order.
Okay. Let's go with the Pasadena Convention Center.
Okay.
For maybe that's a twofer because as I mentioned earlier, I don't know if it'll make the show. I learned to ice skate at the old ice rink, which is now part of the convention center. But and that was a huge memory for me. I could still remember buying hot cocoa at the little vending machine and what it smelled like, what it sounded like in there. But I've done a lot of really fun trade shows at that venue, really special opportunities, whether it was modeling for, you know, incredible artists or doing demonstration makeups on myself or other people. That's where I've made some of my best art and where I've been involved in some of the coolest makeups. I was like a 10-foot tall devil for one of my mentors, Scott Ramp, who came from Pasadena as well. I mean, he's from Oregon, but lived in Pasadena for 30 years. And that makeup is one of my favorites. That place is just special to me. I drive by and I get excited. I'm like, you know, what's the next? When is it going to be Monsterpalooza? You know, when's it going to be IMADS?
Is Monsterpalooza held there?
Yes, Monsterpalooza is held at the Pasadena Convention Center. They have a smaller show called Son of Monsterpalooza. That's at their original venue, which is the Burbank Airport Marriott Convention Center. They do that there still, so that's coming up in October. The 11th, 12th, and 13th of October. If you guys are at all into this stuff, check out that show. I like the bigger show better, but there's something about the smaller show being a little bit more intimate. Those are my absolute favorite trade shows. So the convention center, definitely one. Where I live, my house is, and not just the cliche, well, that's where I live, but, you know, I had been going there since I was 18 because one of my makeup mentors, Scott Ramp, lived there for like 25 years before me. And I'd been going there since I was 18 years old, you know, get your life cast done there, you know, get help with makeup. I even helped put up the wooden fence on the yard that's still barely holding on at the house now. Not to mention, I mean, I build out of the shop there. The old Scream Team shop is my shop now. And I spent the entire lockdown there, you know, and it was actually a wonderful place to be. I had gone from living in an industrial building in Santa Clarita, kind of illegally, to living in this house, this little tiny 3-bedroom house with like a big backyard and a shop space that was separate from my living space, so I don't have to breathe in all these terrible chemicals and things. Yeah, and I was just so grateful, to live there. And I love Pasadena. Like it's I don't know that I would want to be anywhere else in Los Angeles, to be honest. I mean, I could live in Glendale, I could live in San Gabriel, I could live in Altadena, but I really love the San Gabriel Valley. And something about Pasadena, it had a lot of things that Santa Clarita, where I grew up, doesn't have. It's got culture, it's got history. You drive down the streets and like every house is different. It's not ranch houses and, just generic. It's not all chain restaurants. And I love everything about it. I love the museums. I'm not far from Huntington Library. I love how old the trees are, how big, how green it is. It's just so special for me.
Yeah.
And then 3, probably my gym, which is walking distance from both of us. Yeah, I mean, it's not that I'm such a fan of the company that runs the gym. I actually liked it when it was Gold's Gym a little bit better. You had a little bit older clientele and more respectful. But it's for people like me, the gym isn't just about your physique. It's kind of mental health too. It's kind of like church and therapy, and it was really hard for me when they were closed down. During COVID, it was right there. I used to have 2 gym memberships, one at the 24-hour fitness kind of near Rosemead by Trader Joe's. Used to be there, and that got closed down. And then Gold's got closed down, and then they opened up a new gym called Speakeasy Fitness because it was an outdoor COVID compliant gym, like a speakeasy. And that's still the gym I go to. I'm so grateful to have a gym within like 3 blocks from my house. It makes a huge difference in my quality of life. So maybe that's kind of a boring answer. I wish I had discovered a unicorn at Eaton Canyon or something, but these are the places.
Yeah. And we talked a little bit about Speakeasy before the camera started rolling. It's like has this like modern feel, right? Like lights like I'm waiting to hear like the bass. Like
go inside. Yeah.
Oh, is it like that?
It's a big, scary, flat black building with red, a red sign.
Yeah.
It looks intense. And then you go in and it's black, but it has blue and red light. And yeah, it has club music. It's like a club. I could definitely live without the music, as I think 95% of the gym goers can live without the music. If you go on the Yelp, they're like, the music, turn it down. Like, come on, especially if you're there. I'm not a morning lifter, but I could imagine you get there at 6 a.m. No. You got to have good noise canceling headphones, but it is it has 2 buildings and a courtyard in between with equipment. There are a lot of serious lifters there. You see the same people all the time. It's not quite like an LA Fitness where, it's people that might go every once in a while and a few heavy regulars. These are the same people all the time, which is kind of cool. I love watching people have gains, like make progress. And it's so cool, like to be like, that woman 6 months ago did not look like that. Now she's got muscles and she's feeling confident. You can just tell. I hardly talk to anybody except for I guess I'm one of the old guys now. So the old guys kind of nod and wave at each other and shake our heads when the young guys are flexing in front of their tripods, wearing their stringers and their short shorts and their George Michael earrings and their Crocs or whatever the cool fashion thing that I don't understand. Their dark sport shirts. I'm like, whatever, good for you. And then I look over at the old, silverbacks and the old ladies in there doing their thing. And we're just like, I guess I'm 44, but I guess I'm one of the old guys.
Oh, awesome. Thanks for sharing your SGV3 with us. Multiple people have mentioned their house, so don't feel any
I
awkward.
like my house. My bed is my favorite.
my house was also in an SGV3, but
okay, good.
Not mentioned by me though.
Okay, good. I like your complex too, man.
Oh, this is my childhood home, my childhood friend.
So you grew up out here?
I did, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I grew up in Monterey Park though.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Well, Dan, thank you so much for spending this time with us and sharing your story, multiple stories with us. We really appreciate it. If people want to get in touch with you, but what's the best way to do that?
Probably the Instagram. I have a website, but I haven't updated it in like 4 years, you know. The Instagram is NEFXDan. Yeah. If there's work, hit me up. If you have questions, if you're interested in special effects makeup, I'm always available to answer. It's kind of a tough time to do what we do. That's why I always tell people, I want to get into makeup. I'm like, you might look into coal mining. It's more future than our job, but absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Dan.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, there you go. Another episode in the books for you. Definitely an interesting story that, you know, I used to really be into this horror stuff, you know, really be into it. I shy away from it now, you know, for my own reasons, but I can appreciate the work that goes into it. And especially if you go check out Dan's work on his page, it's just incredible stuff. And if you don't, just listening to the story today, you can hear the passion that he has, you know, in his, not only his work, but just the kind of individual that he is. So thank you for spending this time with us. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if you want to support the show in a more meaningful way, please consider becoming a patron on Patreon under My SGV Podcast. And you can find our full back catalog of episodes on our website, mysgv.net. And until next week, we'll see you then. Thank you for joining us on the My SGV Podcast. Check out more of our content on our website, mysgv.net. This show was produced by Scott Wormuth, directed by Russell Mano, edited by Victoria Allers, and original music by Yone OG. If you'd like to join us next week as we capture and share more stories from our diverse community, feel welcome.
Nice matter. No kind of matter.